Today we're going to work on making a cell phone. I'm going to use this cell phone as a reference. I'm not going to worry too much about these little indents. If you really want to, you can. But for me, I'm just going to make a basic shape. I'm going to make some buttons that's going to work with this. I'm going to use the loft for the cell phone, and then for this round button because it indents a little bit, and you'll see a nice trick with that. And then we're going to use extrudes for these individual buttons themselves. Alrighty, let's get to it. I go work on the right view, and this will work for me today. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to make the basic shape of this object. And it's more of a rectangle, so we're going to go down a little bit more. There we are. Just make sure that this is Bezier tool, and then I probably should have added the. Okay, so we have these segments that are going to work that way. Alrighty. Might have to bring this one over just a little bit so I get a nice curve right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring this one down a little bit so it's more of a flat surface, and I just kind of edit the curves right there. Do a hard one because that way it'll. So we have a nice curve right here. Alright, that's fine. So we have a nice basic shape. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this, and then I'm going to should be negative x, I believe. Sorry. Object negative. Put this into a null. Throw that right there. This null, we're going to go negative x. That did not work how we wanted it to. Alright, so what we might do here, I'll just go take this and I'll rotate this 180. There we go, that works perfectly fine for what I want. That's more of a square if I look at this now. So I might take, well, let's get these merged together. So let's look at the flow of each spline. So it's the beginning. This is, okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and do a connect, throw these two splines in there. Make it editable so it emerges, and we're going to select these 2 points at the bottom, right click, join segments, so now it is one whole object. Alrighty, and then what we're going to do so that I can make it more of a longer shape, I'll just take these bottom parts and visible elements. And say eyeball it right there. That looks like a good size. We'll go ahead and make sure that we close the spline so that way it's closed at the top. There we go. So now we have our base, the basic look of our object. Like I said, I'm going to use a loft. I'll show you why I'm going to use a loft. So I'm going to take this object, copy paste it, and I'm going to move it down just a little bit in thickness. Alright, and then what I'm going to do, and you guys are going to like this, I'm going to take this one, copy paste it, I'm going to move it just a tiny bit, then I'm going to shrink it a little bit. we'll see, and that start creating the loft for it. I've had this one, and then I put two. And I now have a little bit of a shape to it, and I can keep making it a little bit smaller, bringing it out just a tiny bit as well. That it's going to get a little bit of a lip to it. We can actually probably just make this a little bit larger. So that we kind of a lip to it. Alright, and then see if there is a caps. See if there's a fillet cap. There we go. Fillet cap, and we'll just bring it down a little bit. So it'll kind of blend with, actually what we'll do, so I go back, so I can probably just get away with just these two, connect the lofts. Now you can probably get away with doing an extrude on this one as well. With this fillet cap on both sides, and so it has a nice little edge right there. Just want to add a couple steps to it. So add 5 steps, so I get a nice lip to it as well. Alright, so let's take a look back at our cell phone. So it does have a little bit of a lip again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this extra one and I'm going to do an extrude to this one. So it comes out just a little bit. We just have to play with the extrude. Because we want this to come out on the X. There we go, just a little bit on it. We might actually make this a little bit smaller. Then we're going to play with the caps a little bit. Let's take a look at that image again. Looks like it goes in and out. So for that, we are actually going to need to do a loft. So what we need for this one is we're going to need to copy and paste this. Alright, move this up just a tiny bit. Alrighty. Copy and paste it again. I'm going to scale it down just a tiny bit. It's in the same spot. And then we're going to copy and paste that one, and then we're going to move that one back to the object. Alright, so we need to have it go in one direction, but as long as they are in the same order. So we'll take the loft, and we'll take all 3 of these, throw it underneath there, bam, and we have a little bit of a lip. And so if I make this visible, now we have something where it's like you have our little lip that you had before. Alright. If you want to have this be a little bit thicker on this loop part right here, then you're just going to have to select these side ones, and then so I mean, like if we wanted to this one, so turn off these visibility, so we want to take these inner ones, so we'll take not that one, but we'll take all these, all three of these, and then we can just kind of scale it a little bit more on the inside. That way it'll give us more of a lip, a little bit of a thicker lip on the middle part. Alright, see, there we go. Alrighty. So it looks like I might have messed something up. So this one, so we need these two inner ones, these two inner ones that we actually have to bring in a little bit. There we go. That looks a lot better. So I had to keep these two, I'll show you where they are. These two big ones that are in the back, so these ones, they connect, or sorry, these two that are the bigger ones, they're in the back and they're the same size, but they're just apart, so you want to keep those similar, and then we had to just shrink these inwards a little bit so that you got a consistent lip with the size of it up and down as well. Alrighty, let's get off those so I stop messing with them. Alright, so now we have that lip. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our image again. Sorry. And then we're going to create some buttons. What I'm doing is I'm going to create the first row of buttons, which will probably, I'm going to create the first row of buttons. I'm going to use those to flip over, and I'm going to recreate the other buttons themselves. Alrighty. So we have this view right here. And let's see how far up. About halfway is where they're all at. So let's say this is right here, the halfway point. And so this is where all of our number buttons are going to be. So we have 3 rows of those. Alrighty. So to create this, I'm going to get a rectangle. I'm going to do roundings. So now I have nice round buttons. I'm just going to kind of try to make them about the right size. So we get it right here. And I'm just using the scale tool to kind of make buttons that are going to fit across all the way. And might have to make them, if I look at that image again, looks like they're a lot wider than they are long. So I will, let's see, this is, let's do, maybe if I do like 1.5, a little bit under 1.5. Might work. So let's just stretch out just a tiny bit more, squish it down just a little bit more. I think that'll work for us. Space it out a little bit. I'm going to copy and paste. And I'm going to bring that down because these two are the same. And then what I'm going to do is, just so I can kind of see if they're the right size, I'm going to paste these over. I'll put like one little space in between them. So actually it looks like I can make them a little bit larger. I can create all of these and then make them a little bit wider. What we can do is, that's pretty spot on right there. Okay. Might be these might be a little bit spacing, maybe a little bit more in between, but just gonna space them out a little bit more that way. Alright, cool. So now I look at my cell phone. I do see that this has a little bit more of a rounded bottom as well. I'm not going to worry about this for this particular project, so I'm going to just kind of make these buttons a little bit rounder. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take these three right here, copy and paste them, and I'm going to bring them down just so that they're about the same distance. Alright, and then I'm going to select all of these. I'm going to bring them down so that they're at the lip. I'll say that's good enough for those buttons themselves. And that gives us some room for the rest of them. Alrighty. I'm not going to worry too much about, let's say, like, because I don't have I haven't created the shape for this to work that way. That's fine. For this particular one, I'm going to just kind of say that this is what I was supposed to be. Alrighty. So these are the number buttons, and then we're going to go ahead and look at our image again. Now we have a thicker one with looks like these buttons are going to work or kind of be combined, so we'll probably have to make a custom spline, and I'll show you the fast and easy way to go about doing that. But first we're going to create our circle that we're going to use for the middle button. Go ahead and make a default one. Go ahead and shrink this down. I'd say that's a good size, and right there will work. So that's the outer one, and we're going to paste, make a duplicate. I'm going to put all these into a null together. Alrighty. Now I'm going to give all these little buttons their own little extrudes, because that way I can give them a little bit of a fillet cap to them, so that we don't have to worry about it. And sometimes cell phones, like, the buttons are a little bit raised or lowered, depending on where they are in the phone. But anyway, so we're going to use that. Then we're going to create a rectangle. I'm going to scale it down, make it editable so we can scale it down, scale it across this way, bring it down. And we need it to be about half the size of a little bit under half the size. So, like this. So where's the halfway there? So that's a little bit under the halfway. We'll make it a little bit smaller. And then we'll bring it up a little bit more. Alright, so the halfway point, and I'll actually bring it down a little bit more again. So you're saying, oh, okay, cool. We need to create a button that's going to have that weird shape for it. So we'll take this is the original circle. We'll take this circle, and we're going to create a spline array. Throw a rectangle up there. Blah blah blah. Turn visibility off on that one. So we need to make sure that it's working on the correct one. So we have the X, and so this is kind of the opposite of what we want. So what that means we need to do is subtract. Bam, there we have it. And we can just make that editable. Now, there's a couple things we can do. We can either, at this point in time, we can take this spline, copy and paste it, see if we can rotate it. Nope. So before we want to make that editable, I'm going to go back a couple steps, take this rectangle because it's the same shape, and copy and paste it, and then I'm going to throw it up right here, see where our circle's at. Circle middle point, there we go, it needs a little bit higher. Circle middle point. Okay, that's good. And we'll just copy paste. we'll make another spline mask. Make this invisible. Put this one right here again. Make sure that we select the right one. And then we just have to do subtract. There we go. Got our two buttons. And then we got this button. So we're going to go ahead and create these, make them editable, so that way they are one individual spline. Alright, so right now I have the layouts for those particular objects. Let's look at our cell phone again. And that's flat. We can probably make this one if we want. That'll be pretty easy to do. Alrighty. So this will just be a glass area. Alright, we're going to go ahead and create a rectangle. Make sure it has rounding on it. And then we're going to make it editable so we can make it really small. And that this one, the way that we're going to get this one to work with it coming out is that we're going to do the same thing as we did for the other lip. The exact same process, but we're just going to put this up here. There we go. Alright, so let's see what we have here. I'm going to bring this down this way so I can kind of see both what's going on. I'm going to change this to the right view. Alright, so work on all of these rectangles with extrudes, paste, a bunch of pastes, and actually let's get one working correctly with the settings that we want on it. Alright, we're going to get the extrude working, so we want the right direction, and it needs to be on the X, probably on the other way, so we can see it's getting a little bit larger, see where that is. So that's a nice little spot that we have for it. It's probably going to go above the lip a little bit, just a tiny bit. We'll add our cap, so this is this back end. So there we got our little fillet cap. Probably add like 2 steps to it. And I'll just make the fillet cap a little bit larger, just so that you can see what's going on. Alright, so we have that all set up. I'm going to take this line out of it. And then so I have all these settings done. Copy, paste, 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 paste. And there's 9. And we're just going to throw these extrudes into it. Oops. It's a little bit close. So let's go back. And I bet you I have to make this a little bit not as, yeah, let's go to 3, because it made it a little bit too wide, so now then the buttons were, because if I look at this, yeah, that'll work better. So now that should work. Take these extrudes, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Extrude, 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 extrude. Throwing it into these extrudes. That's what we're gonna do. Alrighty, so I got all these extrudes like this. I got my buttons. I got some nice spacing in between there. We could probably select we want to select 1, 1, 2, nope, not 3, 4. I can bring these up a little bit more. We want this other one, 3, 1, 3. 1, 3, 5, 5, 3, and 1. And I got those by holding down Control inside there, and then just bring it up a little bit, just so there's a little bit of space in between each one. That's perfectly fine. So if I look around, I have these buttons. I could probably always bring these. We could always make the buttons probably not as thick. So if I select all of these extrudes, probably take this part and bring it down a little bit. So then it just goes just slightly off. Alright, there we go. Now we're going to go ahead and do our extrude. And I'll throw these back into the null, all these extrudes. And make this buttons. Alright, bam. This is cell body. So that's why you want to at least label whatever you can as you're going. Oh, because this is not cell body. This is a cell body lip, and this is the cell body. Cell body. There we go. All right. So let's work on these two right here. We're gonna make these an extrude again. Bam. Just take the settings right here, copy, and I'll make this as 0, and paste this. Alrighty, I'll just put this right into it. That's fine. Let's see if we can play with a cap a little bit. The ending cap, fill cap. That's fine. That actually might work out pretty good for what we want. And then, so I'm going to take that out just real fast so I can copy and paste it. Throw it back in there, and I'll throw the other one back in here too. So now we have a nice little look right there. And then what we're going to do for the circle, we're going to make some lofting. Alright, loft. Throw that in there, the first one, copy paste, and just like the lip, we are going to bring it out a little bit. Put it in there so we can see what's going on. And I might make the second one just a tiny bit smaller. Paste. Make that a little bit smaller. Should make this really smaller. Alright, we're going to push this back a little bit and put it in here. And this loft will give us this look to it. Kind of a indent a little bit. And then if we wanted to make it not as noticeable, we just kind of keep working with that so that we bring it in, and that way it's a little bit of a hole, which works pretty good for us. We can always make this circle a little bit smaller, the back circle, just so that doesn't intersect. I guess get rid of this nice look that we have with this bevel right there. Second one, we might bring it in a little bit too as well. So a little bit of a space between it. So we got a nice look to that cell phone right so far. And then we're going to do the same thing with the, this will be, throw these into a null. This will be top button. Bam, bam, just so I know what's going on. Bam, there we go. We have this rectangle. We're going to make it into a loft. Bam. Copy, paste. Bring it up. Alright. It's up just a little bit. I don't think this gets up a whole lot, so we'll go up a little bit. And then we'll copy paste this one. I'll make it just a tiny bit smaller so we get that nice lip. And bring it down a little bit like this. These weird shapes, they get a little bit, you scale them down uniformly, they don't, you need to scale them down a little bit one way or the other. So now I have a little lip like that. Take this one, copy paste it, move it back all the way. Throw that into the loft. Now we have that little lip. So right now we have this look to it. Now we'll check out the cell phone that we have. Not too shabby. And I do see that like these have like a little bit and like they're raised a little bit. But for this particular homework assignment, it's not that bad. It's pretty good. Looks like a cell phone. There you go. I'll take a little render of it. Not too bad. Alright, that's it for the cell phone. That's a pretty easy way to go about doing a cell phone.